Hey, Nikki Brown here, no matter where you are and what part of the world you're in. I hope that you're having a good day. So, I was watching a video and it inspired me to create this video. And I am an advocate
Turn left to stay on Harvard Avenue, then turn left onto Columbia Avenue. Take the next left onto Columbia.
I am an advocate for the law of attraction, right? I do relate to you don't attract what you want, you attract who you are. So wherever you are in your life, mentally, emotionally, and perhaps even physically, those are the type of people you typically attract around you. So if you want to attract someone better, then you have to elevate to a higher level or grow spiritually or whatever that looks like for you based on what you feel that you want, deserve, desire, right? Although people have a problem with the word desire, but that's a whole nother story. But anyway, the video was about women who want marriage, and there were a lot of men watching the podcast because they wanted to know from these two women, what that looks like, right? And so there was a mention of you have to look at a person's family and you have to look at a person's whole family. And I slightly disagree with that portion of the video. And the reason I say that is because there are a lot of people who are on a healing journey, right? They're in a healed place in their life and they realize that they grew up with a toxic family dynamic, right? And so they have now either distanced themselves or they have gone no contact. So in certain instances, and of course there is an exception to every rule, right? In general, yes, look at these people's family, but also consider the mentality of the person when it pertains to their family. I'm family oriented, but I don't have a family oriented family, if that makes sense, right? They are toxic. And so if you're family oriented and you're okay with being around toxic people, that's great, right? But for people who are more sensitive, right, and they don't choose to place themselves in a lion's den to be attacked or ridiculed or criticized on a constant basis, or whatever that looks like, be begged for money because there are people in their family who maybe have addictions, whether it be an addiction to food, alcohol, a drug, or whatever that looks like. These people may have saw those things taking place in their family dynamic and decided that they want to go on a different path, right? And so not everybody follows in the same footsteps as their relatives. Some people learn to do things differently. Some people learn healthier ways to cope. Healthy strategies, we'll say, life strategies. And again, they're not necessarily following in the same footsteps as maybe a relative who, again, may be toxic. Even if it's because of some mental issue or something that happened to them as a child that they never got counseling or therapy for, and they were never able to get over. Regardless of the reason, some people either withdraw, some people, follow in the same footsteps. But again, some people decide that these behaviors are not okay, they're not acceptable, and so they may be family oriented if they have their own family that they can have a healthy structure with. But perhaps the family that they grew up around is not necessarily healthy, and so they may not necessarily have you around those relatives, right? They may not choose to share that portion of you, or you may go around the family every 3 years, every 5 years. And for some people, I know that is very disturbing, because they couldn't imagine not being around their family, right? Whereas some people cannot imagine being around their family all the time. It does not mean that they're not family oriented. It does not mean that they would not make a good husband or a good wife, right? However, it could mean that you just have a different family dynamic with that person if you decide to enter into a covenant with this person. And so, yes, I think it is important to look at someone's family and how they were raised, but I also think it matters whether or not they healed from that situation. Did they get therapy? Did they go to counseling? Did they seek a life coach? Did they read some self-help books even? Did they go to group meetings? What does that actually look like, right? Not just actually dismissing this person because they don't have the same family structure or family dynamic that you had. That's just my opinion. And of course, everyone is going to feel differently. And there are people who, they're more like-minded, and they did have a similar family dynamic growing up, and they are married, and maybe they've been married for a really long time, and it works for them, and that's great. But there are so many people who grew up in dysfunction and toxicity, and I don't think that they're any less deserving of marriage because of the circumstances they grew up in, because they didn't choose that, right? Again, some people actually heal and grow. For those who have a great relationship with their mother or their father, that is awesome. But if somebody grew up in a house with someone who had abusive parents, who would beat them or starve them, or they were addicted to drugs and they would steal from them, or whatever that looks like, they may be in a place where they have forgiven that person, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they want to continue to be mentally, emotionally, or verbally abused by that person for the rest of their life, just to say, oh, this is my parent. And then anytime you go around the parent, they're cussing you out, they cussing them out, they stealing from you. It's just not a good environment to be in. So you want them to, again, put themselves in a lion's den because, oh, that's your mother. It doesn't matter if she stole $100 out of your purse. No, I don't think that even makes logical sense, right? So people have to do what they feel is healthy for them. People have to do what they feel is serves a good purpose in their life. And there are some people who maybe their parent has healed, or they have grown, or they have gotten better, and they choose to be around that person. And there are some who they have not gotten better and they choose to be around that person. But then those are the type of people who say they hate their mother-in-law or they hate their father-in-law, right? Because that's not easy to be around someone under those circumstances. I know someone who's very close to me who he doesn't like, the mother of the woman he's dating. And, if they continue on, it's not going to get better. It'll just be something that he has to deal with, right? And again, if people choose to do that, by all means, do whatever you think is best. But there are some people who choose not to deal with that, and that's okay too. You have to do whatever you feel is healthy and best for you. So that's how I feel about it. Again, yes, consider the relationships with the other people they have in their family, how their behavior is. But some people didn't have a perfect family. But again, that doesn't mean that they're any less qualified or any less capable, ready, willing, and able to be a wife or a husband. again, maybe they are willing to read some of those self-help books because maybe they grew up in a single parent household and they don't know what that's supposed to look like, because nobody's really out here teaching people that. A lot of people are selfish and it's all about, oh, well, I got mine. I had a mother that taught me, so I don't know what to tell you, and that's not how it should be. We should have more married people who are willing to share what that experience is like, or how you can go about choosing the right partner, what qualifications you should look for, what type of person you should be, right? We all, okay, dress modest. That may be some advice that a married woman might say, but look at women like Coco, Ice-T's wife. He doesn't care whether or not she dressed modestly. So then obviously that does not apply to all men. He loves her personality, and that is, the quality he was looking for in a wife, and she embodies that. So there are plenty of women who dress what some would consider provocatively, yet they're still married. Look at, the Cardi B types. These women are not getting married. That doesn't make them any less wife material, because, and there was a time when we were nude, and it wasn't until the European came to this country and basically said that we should be ashamed, and then gave us the Adam and Eve story, that women now feel like they should be ashamed because there was this envy of, oh, well, since they have bigger behinds, then that means they're promiscuous, and that wasn't necessarily true, but they put this mentality out into the atmosphere, and, so then the men at that time felt like they needed to protect the women by having the women cover up. But the human body was not seen as an object, right? That was a different time. It was not seen as an object. It was not objectified until later on. And you had your Sarah Bartman types, again, who were put on display at a zoo and fondled and, treated as a prostitute against her will. And she ended up dying of a venereal disease at a very young age because of that. But that was not her choice. Again, it was because you have a big butt, that means you're promiscuous. It was just their curiosity and envy, and lust. And so there was, again, a time where the breasts were just seen as simply as a source of food for a baby. The hips were seen as a vessel to carry a child, and whether or not they were adequate enough to bear or to carry a child, a healthy child. And it has become so much more than that over the eons, over the millennia. So again, the way that a woman dresses, in my opinion, has nothing to do with her personality, what type of woman she is, and how she's going to show up in a relationship. But it can. Again, you have to consider the person. I don't think that you can judge a book by its cover, though. I don't think you can just look at somebody and say, oh, well, she has a mini skirt on, so that means, she's promiscuous and I can get it tonight. And she might make you wait a whole year before she even entertains the idea of laying down with you, because she could be the type of woman who wants a husband, or whatever that looks like, or whatever that means to her. I know when I was younger, and even still, like, I'm not going to say I had just let everything hang out, but at the same time, I would wear things like mini skirts, but I also made men respect me, and they did. Now, of course, again, there's always going to be exceptions to the rule, and there's going to be men who try you, right? But if you don't know that, then you don't know that. You don't know that sometimes until you experience that. Right? The way that I was raised, I did not do some of the things, to my child that were done to me. And so you again, you have to consider the person and their growth. And again, that's just my opinion. And if you disagree, just let me know down in the comments. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. As always, love y'all. Later. Mwah.